make this happen. Hey, y'all, I'm Brian. Welcome to the Maryland Fishing Line, episode 44. Today is Tuesday, March 16th, 2021. I am flying solo tonight. Gave Joey the night off. He actually handed in a pass. He actually gave me a leave slip, and I granted him some leave for the evening. Now, actually, Joey is in a business that is very, very busy this time of year between paddle sports and the bike shop. And with our fake spring that we just had, it ended up that Joey's pretty overworked and needed a little bit of a respite. He needed to kick his feet up tonight, and I certainly hope that is what he is out there doing, and maybe with a little drink in his hand. And we're going to talk a little bit about Maryland fishing tonight. I want to say a special thanks to Maryland Kayak Outfitters for sponsoring this week's podcast. Maryland Kayak Outfitters is now booking guided kayak fishing or daily and seasonal rentals on their fleet of pedal drive, fully rigged kayaks on St. Leonard Creek in southern Maryland. Head over to MD Kayak to find out more. Now, let's take a quick look at what's going on around the state. Snakeheads definitely turning on with the warm sunshine. You want to look for some big minnows under bobbers in any of their usual haunts. That's a great place to start. It might be a little hit or miss, but they're there and they're turning on, so don't give up. That is definitely going to put you on the fish. I have seen a lot of activity on the socials with those. Hey, Sean, what's up, buddy? I'm solo tonight. I should have actually called somebody like Sean. Sean, you probably would have joined me on my adventure tonight. It's going to be a short program. But like I said, just now you may have missed it. Joey is taking the night off. Early spring, pre-spawn largemouth are showing up. You're starting to see a lot of folks holding up some pictures of some really nice-looking fish. Your black and blue jigs and chatterbaits, fish them slow and low. Get down deep and don't hurry the bait. Make sure you are crawling that sucker along, popping it along the bottom, and that's what's going to turn those fish on. And then don't be afraid in the afternoon to start throwing some spinner baits or actually running those chatterbaits into some of that shallower water or some of those break points. Hey, Charles is here. I saw Joey sent me a picture, Charles, of you with that boat hanging out of the back of your truck. You should have actually given me a holler. Got a hold of me. I would have been fun to come down and say hello. Yellow Potch. Even though I'm here by myself, I still can't actually talk. Yellow Perch are spawning out. Get on them before they scatter once again. Your best bait if you're looking for yellow perch is going to be minnows again. Yellow perch can be expected to spawn at water temperatures ranging from around 48 to 54 degrees. At cooler water temperatures, the perch tend to sit in those deeper pools waiting for a flood tide to move further up in the rivers and creeks. So definitely get on the yellow perch while they're all bunched up and making fun time. Throw some cut bait for catfish in their usual haunts. That's going to be a good place. And that's about it. I think chain pickerel are obviously still on, but the snakehead, the bass, those yellow perch, and some other fish should be turning on here pretty soon, so keep your eyes out. Remember that, and we're going to talk a little bit about striper regs here in just a few minutes, but March is totally shut down for striper. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. My catch-up for this week, still haven't gotten to fish. All I am doing still is rigging boats and preparing things over at Maryland Kayak Outfitters. I've got all my boats set up, and I'm working towards now putting together the wet dock. So I've got a boat lift on the pier, and I'm going to put a wet dock on top of that boat lift that will allow you to walk out, sit down in a boat, hit the button, drop it into the water, and you float right off and do the inverse when you return. I'm going to make it very safe and very easy for people to get on and off of boats that may or may not be familiar with fishing kayaks and how they handle or how stable they are. And these Titans are incredibly stable boats, but even still, if you've not been on one, I think this is a great way to do it, and I have the opportunity to do it this way. So I have started working towards that now. So it's dock work now that's taking place, and I have a very large supply of lumber in my pole barn. And I also have a forklift. So yesterday I took some time. The forklift has not run in a while. I took some time to get it operational again, got it working, only to very quickly find out that that forklift has no brakes. And found that out, not want to say the hard way, but when you mash down on that pedal and nothing happens, I tend to move a forklift very slowly anyway. I'm not, a proficient forklift operator. So I tend to move very slowly with those things, so it was no big deal. And it was actually no big deal to continue operating. Just actually, instead of giving it gas to make it move, I was just sort of like popping the clutch in and out and letting the forklift move and not giving it enough time to get away from me. But since it hadn't run for a while, it was kind of janky, and it kept wanting to stall out, so I just kind of took my time. And I've got 50 boards up on the top, probably about better than 15, 18 feet up in the air. And I got the forklift running. I got them all lined up. I have my time set right. I got them up underneath that stack of wood. And these are 16-foot long 2x10s. And I was about 50 of them in the stack. And so I went to pick them up, and I got them airborne a little bit. And then the forklift kind of stalled out on me, and I kind of realized really quickly that if that forklift stalled completely and cut off while I had all of that lumber up in the air, that it could prove problematic for Brian sitting below it, even in a protected forklift. So I thought better. I think discretion was the wiser part of valor at that point. I kind of shoved that wood back in. And I think my new plan is going to be to raise the forklift up. I've got some scaffolding in the barn. I'm actually going to line that up and lock it into the shelving unit, and then move that board by board over to the forklift to just be able to drop it down. So that I think it's going to be a much safer way to handle that. And then the process of building the wet dock begins once I get all of the lumber down the hill. And Sean, if you're still here, Sean stopped by the other day when he picked up his Titan 12 from the Patuxent Adventure Center. He swung by up here with his kids, and we spent some time hanging out in the barn, looking at the boats, talking about some things we've done up here. We walked down the pier, and he actually now has a very good understanding as to the hurdle that I face with regard to getting boats and equipment and supplies down the hill. Even though I do have a paved road, it is quite steep, and Sean can now attest to that. So if you haven't seen this, folks, there is a new law that takes effect on April 1st. So as a part of the National Defense Authorization Act that included the U.S. Coast Guard reauthorization, recreational boaters, there's now a new law that requires a vessel operator to use either a helm or outboard lanyard or wireless ECOS on certain vessels less than 26 feet when traveling on plane or above displacement speed. Basically now you've got to have that shutoff, that engine shutoff lanyard on your boat if you are 26 feet or under. There are exceptions to this requirement if the main helm of the vessel is in an enclosed cabin or the vessel is not operating on plane, as we said, not operating on plane or at displacement speed. You are not required to follow this requirement. Low speed activities such as fishing or docking do not require the use of the lanyard or the ECOS. The vessel operator is also exempt if the boat's motor produces less than 115 pounds of static thrust or about the size of a 2-horsepower engine. So keep that in mind. If you are a power boater, that little center console, little flat bottom skiff, if you're 26 feet or less and you are sitting outside to operate that boat, you are going to have this. And this is a nationwide law. This is not something that states are going to be enforcing. I'm not exactly sure who the enforcement is going to fall on. But as I understand it now, just looking at it early, it is going to be a Coast Guard requirement. So the state is not going to get involved. Hey, Paul. Good to see you tonight. Joey's taking the night off. He is kicked back, sitting with his feet up after a few long days in the saddle. So that's just something to keep in mind, folks. Just make sure that, that 26-foot boat, and a lot of folks have that size of boat. It's a very popular trailer-sized boat here on the bay, so just make sure you're aware of that. I think they're doing a great job of getting the word out on that, and it shouldn't be a problem. 2021 striper regulations are out. Now, as we referenced earlier, April is closed to all fishing, including catch and release. Please remember that. April is shut down. You cannot target striped bass anywhere on the Chesapeake Bay or tributaries during the month of April. Trophy season in the Chesapeake Bay is going to exclude all bays, sounds, tributaries, creeks, and rivers except for the Tangier Sound and the Pocomoke Sound. So that's trophy season that's going to run May 1st through May 15th. You're allowed one fish per day of at least 35 inches. That's May 1st through May 15th. After May 16th, as it stands right now, all fishing is subject to change. They have offered no guidance on what's going to happen after May 16th. Who knows? They point to the maps from 2020, which talk about the spawning locations, but if you read the regulations, they are mute on any kind of activity after May 16th. Now, the Susquehanna Flats are closed from April 1st to May 15th to any fishing. So there is no fishing, no catch and release, no attempt to catch a striped bass in the Susquehanna Flats, April 1st to May 15th, and then once again, subject to change after May 16th. So I got a little bit of advice. If you want to get in on this trophy action in that very short May 1st to May 15th window, and you plan to secure a charter boat, I would suggest booking that sooner rather than later. This short window of time is going to find most of the quality bay captains booking trips early. You could find yourself just out of luck. That's a very short window of time, and nobody knows what's going to happen after May 16th. If you look at the regulations, I'm sure there's people that speculated and heard this, heard that, but if you read the regulations, that's what they state. No telling what's going to happen after May 1st to May 15th. So I would absolutely positively recommend that if you are the type of person you want to get in on that trophy season, get yourself a charter boat quick, or make sure that you've got everything operational on your personal boat and you know exactly where you're going to go, be planned, have a plan in place, be prepared, have your gear ready. You got just a short window of time to get in on those fish, because who knows if there's even going to be catch and release after May 16th. There's just no telling what's going to happen. We just don't know. So that's your shot. That's your window. Make sure you're ready for it. I've been watching, I think just like everybody else, gas prices, and boat owners that hits us particularly hard when you're buying gas on the water. Everybody's been watching gas prices climbing through the roof, and they're just saying there's even higher prices than are anticipated in the near future. And I'm curious how that's impacting people's thoughts for fishing for 2021. If you've got tips or tricks that you use to be able to allow you to still fish while minimizing the impacts of the price of fuel, drop us your thoughts or comments and share those tips or tricks. I mean, I know as a kayak fisherman, it doesn't impact me as much, but it does make me think twice about loading the boat into the back of the truck to go over to Blackwater or to drive an hour over to Mallows Bay. It definitely changes my thought process. And if I was actually towing a boat on a trailer that I had to put gas in as well, I definitely think it would have an impact. So I'm curious what everybody's thoughts are on that, and I'd love to see comments. Drop us some notes on through Facebook or through Instagram or wherever you might do it. Real short episode tonight, everybody. I want to thank you for tuning in. Without Joey here, I can't really do this or that. So we seem to have a whole lot of fun doing the this or that's. And Joey tends to talk. So it's going to end up to be a relatively short episode, but I didn't want to not have an episode because we're definitely, it's starting now. I mean, just the last week, seeing the snakeheads all over Instagram, seeing folks picking up these big largemouth. The yellow perch pictures are here. We're right on the beginning of the season, even though we just had fake spring. We're getting ready to have real spring, and they're at it. Thank you, Casey, for popping in. Popsicle or ice cream? I would go with ice cream, although the popsicle doesn't have the milk in it, so that's probably a little easier on my stomach. But I would probably still go with ice cream. Phil said ice cream, so we got to this or that. Casey, what's your answer? Would you answer popsicle or ice cream? I'll give you a minute to think about it. Phil said ice cream. I definitely said ice cream. And Casey's not going to answer, so that's okay. Anybody got anything? Any comments? And Robert said ice cream. Sean said popsicle. Something about a popsicle says summer though. Yeah. Although ice cream too. I remember the Dairy Queen, taking the kids to the Dairy Queen. Paul, yeah, orange sherbet. We have some of that in the refrigerator. The orange sherbet mixed with the vanilla, that's really good ice cream. And yes, Bill, all the power boxes are finally complete. All 6 of them. I actually did 1 for each boat plus an extra so that I'd have the opportunity to swap something out if something went wrong with it, because I wired them. So I think at some point something's going to go wrong with one of them. And I actually also, I don't know if you saw the pictures, Phil, on the Facebook page, but I'm starting to put in some convenience lighting, little red waterproof LED strips that have spade forks on them that just tap right back into the power boxes. I'm starting to build my crates. I actually bought, I've never really liked the fish crate. The fish crate is too small in my opinion, with it being square. And I found some milk crates on Amazon that are wider. 19 inches as opposed to 12 inches, but still only 12 inches deep in the same size. So I bought some of those to put on the Titans, and they look really good. And I'm going to put 3 rod holders across the back that are 1 unit. So I was experimenting with using some pop rivets to hold that, but my experiments all really didn't work out. The pop rivets didn't have quite enough reach to hold on the milk crate. They didn't really have the strength. Hey, Darren's here. What's up, buddy? So I've kind of given up on the idea of the pop rivet. I think I'm going to use some machine screws, and the rod holders that I got for the back of the milk crates are 1 unit with 3 rod holders integrated. So I've got a flat surface to be able to do that. It was an interesting idea to play around with the pop rivets because it would have been a very clean solution. But with that plastic, I even got the wide grip with thick grip reach on the pop rivet. So I got some oversized pop rivets. But it just didn't seem right. I just didn't feel like it was going to hold. I felt like it was going to fail, and so I didn't do that. I don't want to go that direction. The other thing I did, since I'm going to have my power boxes sitting inside the crate, I ordered about an 1/8-inch piece of black plastic, and I'm actually going to cut some lids for those milk crates. And my idea is on the one side, I'm just going to basically loop some bungee material into some holes I pop in to give it a sort of a hinge without it being a metal hinge, and also something that's easy to replace if it should fail. And then on the other side, I will create a little lip that I can, with another piece of small, like thin bungee, be able to loop down to some kind of a holder underneath that's built into the crate. I haven't quite decided what that's going to look like yet. So that I'll have, in essence, a rain cover over top of the milk crate. I know that the milk crate's still open on the sides, but having something that can flip down onto the top of it gives us the opportunity to keep some of that weather off of the power box. I'm not too worried about it. All of my 12-volt ports and the USB ports that I put into the ammo box when I built the power box have lids on them. But if I'm running, or if I have a customer that's running a phone charger off of the USB port and you get a little rain down in there, I think that could degrade that. So I think just being a little cautious and trying to put some cover over top of that, I think it's a good thing. And all of your cords that you would have for a charging would actually just be able to run out from underneath of that, because it's not going to be a locked kind of a system. You would just be able to lock that top down, run the cord out. In fact, I may go ahead and put a a charging cord on for a phone. I don't know. But yeah, definitely, Phil, thank you for the question. The power boxes are all complete. They're all working great. I used a video on YouTube I found from JDS Outdoors to put those together. The one modification that I did was to add the SAE plug underneath the LED lights on the front, so that when I need to recharge that box, all I have to do is unplug that SAE. The SAE port is also the port for the fish finder. So I rewired all my fish finders to have SAE plugs on the end, on the power side. And I plug those right through the crate into the SAE jack that's on the power box. And then when I need to recharge them, because I've got the voltmeter on top, I'll be able to tell when that power box needs to be recharged. I can just pull that SAE plug. If the lighting is plugged in, I can unplug that, pull any of the wires off, and all I do is grab that box. And then my battery charger for the batteries inside the box is also an SAE plug. So I just plug that SAE plug right back in and make sure the main power supply is switched on so that it's actually able to backfeed to the battery, and I'm done. And it's just very simple. I don't have to dig around in the hole. They're all sitting on the back. In fact, even for my my own top water, I went back and rewired that. I actually kept the transducer in place, but I had the box up in the bow that was holding the battery. I pulled that out, pulled that all apart. I popped a hole in the back. I refished the wire, the power cord all the way back, put another little Hobie through hole kit right there next to the where the milk crate's going to sit, and just pulled that wire right out. And those connections, instead of using like spade connectors or butt connectors or anything like that, I actually did solder those and put some heat shrink wrap on, and then wrapped the whole bundle up into some electrical tape to kind of try to keep that water off. Charles just asked, when's the meetup at St. Mary's? I hate to do it, but I'll look at my phone real quick because I do have it on here. I want to say it's towards the end of March. I want to say it's Sunday, March 28th. So that's just a couple of weeks away. It's actually on like a little over 10 days or something like that. So Charles, that's it. Yep, Sean just chimed in, 28th at 9. I didn't know that Joey actually put a time on that. And anybody who's coming to that, that's the SOMD Yak Anglers group that Joey runs on Facebook. Anybody that's coming to that, Joey's not really planning to put together any food or anything, but I thought it'd be kind of fun if we went together as a group, found some place, to go grab something to eat after a few hours, just sort of like a late lunch kind of window. If anybody's got any thoughts or ideas on that, let's do that. Casey's looking for an update on how the little trailer is working out. Not sure if I did an update on that last week. That thing's working great. I actually mounted the winch onto the front. Casey, you may have missed this last week because I don't think you were here last week. I put the winch up on the front of that, added some boards that are vinyl decking, and alternated them so that the trailer will still fold up. I put the winch up on the front of it to be able to pull the boats up, because when I back the trailer down the hill in the Kubota, the trailer still sort of sits at a pitch, and very difficult to get the boat up. So using the winch as an assist, I can grab the front of the boat with the winch. I'm going to get some, Joey's got some fire hose for me. I'm going to put a fire hose loop onto the winch so I can actually not mar the boat. Grab the front handle. It's remote control, so I'll be able to stand behind the boat, start the winch, pick it up and slide it up, and then lock it in, and then use some tie downs to strap it in, and then I'll be able to zoom a boat up a hill. So it's worked out really well. I'm very, very happy with how that trailer has come together. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the lights on it. I ordered some ladder rack for that, so I'd actually be able to carry two boats, get the lights hooked up on it. I've got to get them wired, and then I think what I'll do is get a main registration for it. Although I do have the title and VIN, everything I bought it in Maryland. I've got everything that I would need to get Maryland plates, but getting main plates and a main registration is a whole lot cheaper and a whole lot easier to deal with. So that's probably what I'm gonna end up doing. Darren, sorry you'll miss the meetup for Yak Anglers. That would have been great. opportunity because St. Mary's Lake better than probably anybody I know. So you could have told us where to go. Yeah, Sean agrees. Main registration is definitely the way to go. You don't have to have titles. You don't have to have much of anything. You just gotta get a hold. And you can do it on the internet. You get a hold of somebody up in Maine. And it's funny. My brother was just telling me a story where he did a Maine registration. And the person that he talked to on the other end for a trailer that he just had to put a title on actually was the same person that bought some land from my sister-in-law's family up in Maine that they used to own. It's just so weird because she recognized the name and she was like kind of questioned him and found out that just out of the blue, just such a small world. And yeah, they're definitely a whole lot easier to deal with than just about anything else. So, okay, folks, I think I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. Next week, we will be back in the saddle again. Joey will hopefully be here. Hopefully he will be rested, well rested, and ready to go. And so thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode and for watching this episode of the Maryland Fishing Line. If you're looking to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Angler Magazine Chesapeake. You can find me on Instagram at Chesapeake Angler and at BN Rains. Joey is at Joey Sikorsky 24 and at Pack Paddle Sports for the Patuxent Adventure Center. And of course, you can find us here on YouTube at youtube.com/Chesapeake Angler. I'll talk to you again next week. Love you. Bye. Okay, live stream. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Darren, Michael. Charles, Paul, all you folks, Phil was here, everybody for sticking in the house. And yeah, actually, that's a great idea. You set up a cardboard cutout of Joey next week. Now, maybe we'll have a guest, but I'm sure Joey's going to be back in the house next week. Joey's just needed that little bit of a rest, and so that's good. All right, folks, we will talk to you next week. Love you. Bye.